What's up, guys? Welcome to Diggity, a video game podcast, episode number 237. I'm Jeff James. With me, as always, tonight, the incredible Luscious Brody. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Not even peachy tonight. I'm fantastic.
Ooh, damn. Tonight, we have drinks. What are you drinking, sir?
I got some Crown.
Okay.
Some
I've
vanilla
got
Crown.
some Tom's Town vodka from Kansas City. Picked that up when I was out there.
Nice.
With just a little bit of Perrier lime in it.
Ooh.
You know, bougie ghetto.
Look at you. You fancy over there.
Mm-hmm. And cubed ice from the door of my fridge. No artisan ice here, baby. Anyways, yeah, thanks, guys, for listening. If you're returning, welcome back. If you're listening to us for the first time, welcome. We give basically our thoughts on video games and news and rumors each and every single week. Every single Thursday evening, we go live on Twitch and YouTube at around 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And the audio version of the podcast is up every single Friday morning, except if we take breaks for holidays, like we were away for a week. That's why I feel rough doing this. When you take a week off, it's like, how do I do this again? What do I do? But yeah, if you haven't subscribed to us, please subscribe to us, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's through the audio version of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. You can find us there. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Diggity Podcast. And with that, we'll just jump right into stuff. The theme of today's episode is just going through basically what we think is going to happen, or predictions for the gaming year of 2022.
Whoa. We got to talk about what we've been playing first, Jeff.
Oh, shit. That's right. Wait for a week, I guess.
I was just going to compliment. I was like, for being rough, you fucking killed it. But we got off a little bit. It's fine.
What have I been playing? Absolutely nothing,
Yes.
because I've been traveling this entire week, going to see family.
Really?
Went and saw them up in Canada.
Figured.
Yeah, I haven't touched anything. I mean, I drove fucking hours to go up to Canada, and then I lied. I played Battlefront 2 at my brother's house on PS4.
Oh, okay. I was like, where did you play that at? Gotcha.
On PS4, and then, God, what else did we play? We played something else, too. That's all I can think of right now. Other than that, literally, it was just family event after family event after family event after.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still trying to see people I hadn't seen in like 2 years. So I've seen everybody now. Well,
Nice.
except for one cousin. So that's about it.
Sorry, one cousin.
Yeah. It's all right.
They probably don't listen to the show. It's fine.
They absolutely do not.
Certainly not. So I've been playing Halo still. Been grinding through that, playing like the winter event stuff, at least getting my game in so I can get that weird peppermint colored armor coating and whatnot. Why not, huh?
Right.
Played a bunch of Forza 5 because I'm still pretty well hooked on it. I usually only play it about once a week, and I get through all my challenges and things like that. But me and the wife got back into It Takes Two finally last night. Played a little bit of that.
Coolio.
You're gonna enjoy it, man.
Yeah, I
You're
mentioned
really
to you,
gonna enjoy
about
it.
that for my wife for Christmas. So
I've been playing some Destiny 2, baking cookies and their winter event thing that they had going on, and all that good stuff. And this is actually my big one. And then I wanted to talk about one other game before we moved on too. I played Super Hot, but in VR. My nephew got a PlayStation VR for Christmas, and that was the first time I have ever played VR.
Your nephew, no, that's your cousin, John Daly Jr.
No, that's one of my nephews.
But
his younger brother. No, it was his younger brother.
We gotta hook him up to VR.
That'd be great. I wish we would have had it hooked up before he bailed for the night. But yeah, I got to finally play VR for the very first time, other than like the old, like back in the 90s, early 2000s, those giant rigs. That's the first time I've ever played it. Because I've been wanting to get PSVR, but I'm waiting for the next one to come out.
Yes.
But holy cow, man, Super Hot in VR is so cool. Like, because the way that game works, it works very well for VR anyway, because time only moves when you move, and you feel like you're in the Matrix, like dodging bullets and things like that. It is awesome. Like
Good.
for the first VR experience, that was perfect.
Did you get
And I
dizzy or sick?
no,
Good.
no, not really.
Good.
So
You got unlucky.
I'm super stoked for like the next VR system to, or not system but peripheral to come out, because I am actually hooked on it now. Like just for Super Hot alone, I'm like, I will buy this day one. This is so cool. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about just super briefly, and it was something that came to mind as I was thinking of games to play. So I've been playing pretty much exclusively on my Xbox for a while now, and I don't know why necessarily. It just seems to be where I've kind of gravitated to because of Halo and Forza, and I have Destiny on there and all of the expansions and everything. But I thought about it today, and Riders Republic is, we picked that up right at release, and I barely touched it. And I think a huge portion of why I have barely touched it is because we have to replay all of the shit that we did in the beta.
Right. I did
hate
touch
that.
it a week, maybe like a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
I went back to it. And yeah, I mean, I did a bunch of stuff, but it was like, I did some races, checked out like some different landmarks and stuff like that. Kind of just like some mini, just went and collected stuff, just Easter egg shit.
And that's all I was doing the last time I played too.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't play so much during the beta because I feel like I ruined the game for myself almost.
Yeah, but also like honestly, I got to a point where I was further than what I was from the beta, and it just seems there's a lot of repetitiveness to it, and like there's no sense of community to it for me.
Right.
Like I've been on the subreddit, but I feel like the mechanics in the game and the way that you communicate with people in the game sucks.
Yeah.
And I don't think it creates a republic. I think it creates like, I'm just here and there happens to be someone else, just ripping ass down this mountain. So, but I did discover, other stuff into it that I thought was cool. But there definitely needs to be some changes to it. I think they should just honestly put more Red Bull stuff in it, or more like, I'd love to see more like X Games stuff.
Yeah.
Or like, shit, you're going to have Winter Olympics come up. I mean, do something in game.
Yeah,
but I've heard absolutely nothing, so we'll have to see on that.
I just happened to think about that today, and I kind of wanted to touch on it super briefly. But now we can move on to the topic. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah. Well, we can kind of go back and forth if you want.
I figured. Yeah, we can go back
because I have a couple different I have a couple different stages on this. Like I figured, I sat there and like
I do too.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I was sitting there just racking my brain, going through like my game library, trying to figure out, I'm like, what is going to be announced?
A lot of my stuff is like either hardware or acquisitions.
Okay.
Some software, but it's more like tech-based stuff, like hardware and like what I think, or like, I guess kind of like business moves, I think. So maybe they'll complement each other pretty well. So the first thing I have is that console shortages will still be a problem throughout the entire year of 2022. And to be honest with you, I think it's going to get worse.
I think so too.
I think it'll probably be really bad for the first Q1 and Q2, the first half of the year. As well. And then I think it'll ease up a bit. I mean, Micron and Samsung came out today saying that they basically, got locked down. Like their factories over in China are in lockdown, and they're not going to be able to fulfill orders. So that's only going to make things more complicated, and I'm sure there's more people than just Micron and Samsung. So, but I think it's going to get worse, and I think ultimately people are just going to get more pissed off because, and I'll talk into other stuff, I don't think it's going to slow Sony and Microsoft from continuing to launch other things that either complement or enhance the systems that are already out, which they shouldn't stop that. Like I've seen stuff on Twitter where like, well, they shouldn't launch any of this until they can figure out the console thing. It's like, it's not their fault. I mean, it's not Microsoft, it has more money than God. If it was their fault, they would pay to fix the damn thing. Yeah. And get it figured out.
I kind of get where they're coming from, because like some of the magic of some of these games is playing them upon release and having those water cooler talks about some of them, right? But at the same time, I mean, these are businesses and they're not purposely holding these back. If they could sell more, they absolutely would sell more. And on top of that, they're not going to stop selling games, so of course they're going to continue. Like
already sold, right? Like it's not like there's like
Yeah.
1,000 PS5s floating around. Because
Right.
the thing I saw most people get outraged was when they showed off the new interchangeable panels for the PS5,
Right.
and people were like, "Oh my god, they're already releasing this, and they can't get consoles here." It's like there's millions of consoles already.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
there's a
been
market.
over a year. It's a
Like-
reasonable time,
Yeah,
right?
there's a
Like,
market to sell these things
and
too.
you know, part of the problem scalpers, part of the problem supply chain stuff. Like, there's so many issues there that it's not clean cut. Like, oh well, this is Microsoft and Sony's fault for not having enough production. Like, the PS5 sold quicker than the PS4, so I mean, what do you want them to do, right?
Right, exactly. So I think the Switch will be the easiest one to get out of the
Yeah.
three. I saw Switch Lights
still see-
available. On
I
the
still see
shelf.
Switches.
Okay, I saw Switch
saw-
Lights when I was up in Canada, and I think Canada's an extreme because
Yeah.
I mean the product has to go even further, and typically
Right.
it has to go to US and then up to Canada after that. But I
Yeah.
saw Switch Lights at a couple different places. No, obviously no PS5s, no Xbox Series X anywhere I went, but I wasn't honestly looking to buy one because I have a PS5. But yeah, I saw just issues. But yeah, that's what I think. I think it's going to continue to be a problem. I started out light, and then I kind of amp up in my predictions. But I expect it to still be a problem into halfway through 2022. Maybe some ease up in the second half. But I feel like for the next at least year and a half, you're going to have annoyances in trying to get these things.
So here's my software low hanging fruit. I'll just go ahead and knock both of them out of the way right now. Just super low hanging fruit. I mean, if you walk too close to this, it's gonna smack you right in the face, right?
Okay, yeah.
Call of Duty and Madden. Those were just kind of thrown in there as a yeah. No, those are my extremely low hanging fruit. Like obviously we're gonna get those. They're every year.
Well, we get
never
a special edition of Madden though, with John Madden passing away now, which is crazy.
This is probably true. Which is absolutely crazy.
Boy, that was wild. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then I tweeted something to those assholes at Kotaku. Instead of just like being, hey, John Madden passed away. This is what he did for, sports video games. I mean, he made them a completely viable product with his name. And instead it was about like how it normalized concussions in football. And I'm like, oh my God.
What a fucking stretch that is, but okay. But then again, I mean, it is Kotaku we're talking about, so
They're crazy.
do I expect anything less?
Crazy
No.
fucking people.
Even without your buddy Jason Schreier there, they continue the bullshit, and I think it's even
Jason
gotten
Schreier's
worse.
at Bloomberg, which is just like a mecca of bullshit anyways. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. I mean, if you're
bullshit
if you're going to
continues.
write an article that says inflation isn't really that bad, you're an asshole.
Right? Inflation's not that bad. What?
I mean, there's degrees to when inflation is bad, but
Right.
nobody wants to pay more for anything. I mean that when they don't have to. I mean that is by and large a terrible thing. That's not a great thing. But anyways, were those your predictions?
Those are just super low hanging. I have so many more. So many more.
Here's one that's got that we've gotten flack for. I think Stadia shuts down in 2022. I'm standing by
Pissed
it.
off so many Stadia fans.
I tweeted this out. Now, mind you, I said Stadia dies in 2022. Looking back on it, I probably should have wrote shuts down. Maybe that wouldn't have deterred. No, it wouldn't. It would still would have.
No, it wouldn't.
Boy,
have mattered.
out of the woodwork, so many people just came and just fucking attacked me. It was wild. Got awkward too at one point because one guy took my. So I mentioned that, and then I guess 2 days later or within 24 hours, someone from Stadia just posted that they're gonna have some sort of. They just did a shadow announce of hey, we're gonna bring X amount of games to the system this year, but no actual proof of it. Just some fucking guy said it. I got shit posted by some people who work at fucking Google. Fuck you. I got then Bryant at Nerf Report, which we've had him on the fucking show before. This asshole, not Bryant, some asshole, who I guess watches them. I don't know. Takes my thing and then puts, well, this aged like spoiled milk, and it's I have the whole year for my thing to come true. And like
Right.
he like made it awkward, and then it was like posted to Brian's, and I'm just sitting there like I'm not gonna respond because I don't want to start anything on Brian's fucking Twitter.
Right.
And then Brian didn't respond because he's like, I know this guy.
Yeah, we have worked together,
We're
but
like, what
you
the
know,
fuck is this? So I was just like, this is stupid. Yeah, I got some DMs from people. You know what? It's a pretty toxic community. It's up there. Like, I mean, it's up there. It's at a pretty high level of toxicity. I'm sure there's great people.
Community,
I'm sure there's great people.
Yeah.
Every asshole
Brian's awesome.
Came to my
Brian
Twitter.
has been fantastic. Like,
oh
we've
yeah,
never had any
Brian's
issues
great.
with him.
Nothing I said. Here's the problem I have. Right? It's Twitter. I'm not going to sit there and I'm not going to write a fucking essay about the full class. I simply said Stadia dies in 2022. Okay, community managers moved on to a different part of Google. There's been other devs that have moved. They've closed down their in-house development, like developer. Right? That's gone. Okay, people have been poached, and the lady got poached that went and started the thing with Ubisoft. Dude was poached for Sony to work on PS Now. I mean, it's Google. Let's be real. There's a fucking site dedicated to the things that Google has killed. I mean, Google, if something doesn't just like by happenstance take off, okay, regardless of the amount of billions or millions of dollars that they pour into something, they crumple it up, throw it into a fucking trash can.
Right.
I never said the tech was stupid. I just make an assessment and go, boy, this looks a lot like other Google products, and this doesn't look good for it. So I think ultimately if it shuts down, and I don't think it's a fail that it shuts down. I just don't think that. I mean, it can't compete.
It can't compete with Xbox and Game Pass and what they have going there. And then
stupid model where you buy a game to then stream it cloud-wise, you'll never get it back. It's not like you can use your physical version and then use that license to then stream like through xCloud or something like that. It's not viable. I mean, it's not like you can sit there and it's not a full-fledged like Game Pass.
Right. Where
I'm getting everything.
And I also brought up the fact that I looked up the app on the Android Play Store, on the Google Play Store, right? It has 1 million downloads, which in the grand scheme of things is nothing because people download it and don't necessarily use it, or they downloaded it to check it out. That's not actual users. And it has a 3.7 star rating, which is kind of like, whatever. But I'm with you. I don't think it's a bad product. I just don't think it can survive against PlayStation and Xbox, the powerhouses. I mean, and of course Nintendo, but they're not doing any of this, right? So, but I don't think it can survive in this
the competitors
landscape.
It goes up against have their own IP,
right?
Massive acquisitions of studios.
Yep.
And they know how to do it. I mean, like the tech, don't get me wrong, the tech is cool. I get it, cool. I can go buy like a, $80 shitty Chromebook and I can play, fucking
anything on it,
whatever I want on it, right? I just it's not like the marketing to it. There's no marketing for it.
Oh, the marketing's been terrible
because this company owns YouTube, right? They own fucking Google Ads. They own Google search, the number one search platform in the fucking universe. They own so many things. I have told Bryant a couple times on
Twitter. He'll post something. I'll be like, dude, you do better marketing than what Google does for their own fucking product.
I know, yes.
And he always likes it because he knows it's true. And that's the problem. Like, if they would market it better, I think it could actually maybe survive. But even then, it's a stretch, right?
Such a massive... They would have to pour so much money into acquiring studios, but they're not going to. They can't do it. They can't turn into a game company. It's not in their DNA.
And in the same hand as what you're saying there, like... Xbox also has an advantage because they also still have a console. And so for people who don't have great internet, they can still play games, whereas you have to have pretty solid internet to actually run Stadia. Like, pretty decent internet to be
Yep.
able to get by on it, and that is the only thing they have. So their market is already limited from the get-go, let alone where, Xbox or PlayStation, yeah, you usually have to connect to like set everything up, but once you get some games downloaded and stuff, you only have to connect so often to verify your license for games and
Right.
things. So it's not apples to apples by any means, and PlayStation and Xbox already have a leg up in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's a niche community. I look at it
Right.
like the Zune. There was love for the Zune. There was
Yeah.
there was love for the Zune. It was a cool product. It was actually ahead of the iPod at the time,
Right.
by leaps and bounds. But the company behind it wasn't a company that should have ever made it.
Right. And they mishandle everything. I mean, look at
Well, they
YouTube.
don't only mishandle their strategy.
in
It's
itself.
ridiculous. The moment they announce a streaming game platform, they shut down YouTube Gaming. What the fuck is that? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
You could sit there
it was
as an
like,
executive and be like, you know what, YouTube Gaming hasn't been doing well for us. And I'd sit at the end of the table and be like, well, thank fucking God we're going to, launch a streaming game platform that might be able to tie into it. Hey, that might boost some fucking revenue. My God.
that was like a month after they talked about Stadia being able to stream directly to
Yes.
YouTube Gaming.
Yes.
They shut it down. You cannot tell me that those guys all sat in these meetings and didn't know that shit was going to be shut the fuck down a month out. A month out. Like, what? How's that work?
Right, yeah. No, that's the craziness of it.
Crazy.
So, I don't know. Hey, crazy people tapped my Twitter. That was it. And then
Yeah,
but it was all
it was
made up
fun.
for better because then I made fun of a Spider-Man NFT with a big old thick booty. And that just blew up. I had like 100 something likes. Loved it.
So, to stay on the same kind of like hardware-ish topic that you are,
Sure.
I think PlayStation VR is finally going to get a release date. We've
You
already
took
seen
it.
a
You
look
took
at it.
from me.
Yeah, I was gonna squeeze that one in.
Hey, that's all.
But PlayStation VR is finally gonna get a release date this year, and I think it will come out this year.
What do they call it?
PlayStation VR 2.
I think
Wouldn't even be surprised.
PSVR 2 for the PlayStation 5. That's okay. That's all right.
Yeah, that's not bad.
PSVR Pro? Elite?
Eh,
Plus?
I think that gets kind of muddy
Yeah,
because
that's
I
like
imagine
a
this is going to be
mid-transition.
specifically for the PS5. I don't think it'll work on PS4.
Okay, so here's my question to you on that. Do you think that it's gonna have like the dedicated box for it and all that shit? Do you think everything's gonna be Do you think it's gonna be like Oculus Quest 2, where everything's gonna be?
They already talked about
They had the patents.
talked
leak,
about
right?
some of it, right? And they actually did release that blog post last year that was very minimal, and it sounded like they were going to go as wireless as they can on a lot of this, just for simplicity's sake, because
That's what you
it's a
need to.
nightmare if you have to set this up all the time, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I've tried it like HTC Vive, and that not great.
Yeah, I don't know if it will have its own sort of box or something that runs off of. I would imagine so, some sort of a transmitter or something, but and it obviously will have your like
feel-
motion camera and stuff.
I
But
feel like you could also probably make it talk to the controller, and you could let it use the gyro and the controller a lot for some additional things. Because
Well, it depends on-
you have PlayStation Move. What
Yeah.
the fuck do you? I mean, did they bring back the Hitachi dildo for everybody?
well, they showed off the. I think they briefly showed off some of the new controllers
That's
too.
right.
if
That's
I
right.
remember
Never mind.
correctly.
Sorry, it's got the. You're absolutely right. It's got the HTC Vive or Oculus style look to it, where it's like
Yep.
kind of like almost a cuff around.
Yep.
You're right. You're right.
And I think it had everything that a normal controller would for the most part. So I think you could do everything from there. And those all obviously have your gyro controls and everything in them as well. But I think the big thing is, I know it's not a new announcement necessarily, but I think we will finally get the release date. And it will either be a release of holiday of 2022 or
Yeah.
spring of 2023.
I think it'll be holiday, but again, it'll
I think
be
so, too.
super low unit numbers because
Yep.
of supply chains.
Right. I
mean,
agree.
that's a. I mean, some would say that's probably more of a complex piece of equipment than the console itself to manufacture.
Oh, I would think so. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, no, I agree.
I
with you.
mean-
I had that down. I think that'll definitely happen.
I figured you would have that on your list, but I had to
Oh, I
squeeze
mean,
it in there while I
everybody should
could.
have it on their list.
Because everything else I have is just games.
What's the price though? What do you think the price is?
Oh, I think it's going to be pricey.
I think
I think it's
going
going to be real pricey.
I think it's going to be $299.
I think that's my price point as well. I was thinking 300, but
it can't be the same price as a console.
No, because that'll push a lot of people away. But at the same time, if you look at PSVR now, like what we currently have, it still sits at like $299 constantly.
Yeah, but
so I don't know
if I'm Sony, I'm not going to discount it because, like, Oculus Quest 2 is huge. Oh my God, the amount of people that bought that is absurd. I mean, literally, the app was like number 1, like in the top 10 in the App Store. So like, that should be on everyone's radar. That was bought for so many people.
I wouldn't doubt they hit 350, 400 though with this thing. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, a new Oculus Quest 2 is what, $289? $290.
Pretty sure, something like that.
So $300, I wouldn't be surprised if they did hit 350. I think 400 would maybe be pushing it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it comes bundled with a semi-decent game or something, but it won't right off the get-go.
No.
So, I mean, you might get like a tech demo, like an Astro bot something or another.
I watched them put like God of War in it or something in VR.
That'd be wild.
I feel like with what Sony's done in the past now, or last like year and a half, I really don't think that they would just launch it and be like, hey, here's Astros, for example, Play World, where you're like...
They launched the console with it.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like, I think they'll have that, but then I think they'll do something cool. Like, they'll have Spider-Man VR. They'll have, people throw up. They'll have God of War VR, stuff like that. I think
I feel like that's almost too big of an overtaking, though. I mean, those are pretty decent-sized games.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot. It'd have to be a dumbed-down version of them to some extent.
Yeah, well, I think...
Or a demo-esque type thing, like a couple-hour-long demo type thing, yeah. That could be cool. I mean, like almost like the Iron Man VR or the Vader VR that they did or something like that. I could see something more in that realm rather than being like, hey, here's this 20-hour something long game in VR, because that'd be a big undertaking.
Yeah.
And people would throw up everywhere.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Everywhere. Ooh. My other prediction is Microsoft buys Sega.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see that one for sure.
Like one of the last like big things that they buy.
Yeah,
I think it would fit the needle.
That'd be.
They've got a good. I mean, everyone thinks Sonic, but they've got a good
Yakuza
roster of games. Yeah, they got a good roster of games that fills like multiple genres and fills multiple age classes, and then you can claim Sonic as kind of, he's not a Mario, but he can fill that void of, getting a younger child onto the Xbox before anybody, for anyone else.
And they've had a good relationship with Sega for all the Yakuza games, because they've had those on Game Pass for forever. I think a couple of them are getting ready to leave, but and they definitely want to capture that Japanese audience better. So that would be the ticket right there. I mean, that is a great way to get in there. I think it's reasonable, but boy, I mean, shortly after acquiring Bethesda, that'd be a pretty massive announcement, but I could see it. I absolutely could.
Yeah.
And Sega's already, I mean, they shut down that major location, or that historic arcade.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Is that in Akihabara?
Yeah.
Is that correct? But they just shut that down. I mean, Sega hasn't been in a great place for a little while. They're doing fine, but they're not the Sega that they once were, obviously.
They got away from the physical vending machines and arcade stuff to, now they've got their IP royalties from Paramount with doing, the Sonic films, and they're exploring other ways. They got the open world Sonic game that's coming out or whatever. But yeah, I think they'll make the purchase, and it's not for the Sonic side of stuff; it's for the other things. No. But it's to your point, it's to mainly get into that Japanese market, which at one point, just for understanding of this, the Xbox One S. Okay, when that was being released and announced, at that time, Microsoft only had 1% market share in Japan.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and that's a massive market, and a place where, let's be real, you can get consoles to quicker than you can get them here.
Yeah, this is true.
So why not sell some shit out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree with that one. I think that would be an excellent pull for them if they can do it. I don't doubt that they do it either. But I also think that, I don't know, man, that is huge, and
I don't know.
I can see it, but I can also see a world where it doesn't happen, right?
I feel like Bethesda's a lot bigger than that.
This is true. In this day and age, yes, I would agree.
I feel like the Bethesda acquisition is much bigger than that. And they've also played around with the Yakuza stuff on Game Pass.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So I just think there's a good relationship there, and I think that they'll end up acquiring them. And then I think with Sega games, with select Sega games, Sonic, I would expect them, if they did acquire it, that they would continue it being multiple systems, but then stuff like Yakuza and stuff like that would be only Xbox.
Yeah.
Because they did
see that, because they'd still, I bet they would still, especially let Sonic stuff go to like Nintendo and things of that nature. Just because Nintendo, they can sell Sonic still very well, right? Like
Nintendo
typically captures a younger audience.
Yeah, Nintendo doesn't give a shit because they're like, okay, cool, great,
We already beat them once. We're not scared.
Yeah, Nintendo. But yeah, I think that's something that will most likely happen in 2022. Yeah. I think that's probably my biggest stretch out of my list here, but I do believe it will happen.
Okay. So I'll get into kind of more standard predictions here, and then I've got a not likely, but we're well overdue for, and possible but doubtful wishes. Those are my three categories. That's where I'm at. So, I think we're going to finally get a look at the Riot Games MMO.
Okay, yeah. I agree.
The one that's been in talks for a while. They're on a roll right now with Arcane, Ruined King, and that was one I forgot to mention in my games I played. I actually have played like about 45 minutes of it right now, and it's fantastic. I mean, for what it is, it's a fantastic game. It's gorgeous, but Riot is on a complete roll right now, and I think they've been ramping up because I think they still have one or two more games that are supposed to come out. They had a smaller one.
One or two, but then they also have these random shadow drop games that come out like
Ruined King.
Zig, well, the one with Ziggs, and the factory stuff, whatever, based on Arcane.
Which I didn't hear much about that one.
No, I think it was more promotion based. Like I think it was mainly like, hey, check it out, and then it more pushes Arcane. But still, they're pushing shit out. Yeah, I could see that with the MMO for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And if they do announce that, I will play that day one because I love MMOs, and I love the world that League has built, or that Riot has built around League and everything. And the art style is always fantastic. The art in general is so cool.
Oh, the art's fantastic. My only worry is that if you look at like Valorant and you look at League and you look at what they've released, they've got great like written lore. And they do great, they do great videos where it's either, character release and stuff like that. And obviously Arcane is fantastic, but I could be wrong, but I don't know how well they're going to be able to like take that lore and extrude it enough where you feel like you're not getting like rushed through the lore in the form of the MMO. Right. Because it's got to mean something. Like you got to feel like you're actually figuring things out and you're discovering them. And I feel like all these games that they've had, it's just like, here's this character, here's the background and lore on them, but bam, walk away, right? And it's also made in the sense where you don't have to know the lore. Like you don't have to give a shit about these characters' a little bit of both at all if you don't want to. But then you can get super deep into it, which is great. But I don't know if that will translate with an MMO.
I think if they mimic almost like a like Final Fantasy 14, for example, I think they could get away with it, right? Like there's an incredible story there, but if you don't give a shit about the story, the gameplay is still fantastic too. And I think that's how they could get away with it. Whereas some of these MMOs, like they have neither of those categories, or you have like, WoW, where they built up this crazy lore and stuff over the years, but then, turns out the company's fucking terrible, and then it goes down the drain because they've built bad will and everything
Right.
else, and built a terrible empire upon
I think they'll supplement it by making, because Arcane's such a success, and if they launch the MMO, I think it's gonna run parallel to Arcane, and they're gonna feed each other, and you're gonna get this experience that we haven't had yet in video games with that depth where, hey, there's an update coming out, next week or whatever. Watch Arcane to figure out what the next steps in your quest is or what the campaign is. And I think that's what we're gonna
or
get.
even another show. I mean, they don't even have
show.
to focus solely on Arcane.
They're definitely gonna pair it with that kind of stuff. And they should. Yeah.
I'm super excited for whatever that is, because I will definitely check it out. But I'm not saying that's going to release this year by any means. I think it will probably release next year, 2023. But I think they'll show it this year. I think we will finally get a look at it, and we may get like a spring, or not spring, but probably holiday 2023 type release or something like that.
The next game that's coming out is the fighting game that they showed off, right?
I think so. And I think there's one other that's still out there right now, too.
Yeah, there's one other, but the fighting game is the one that they've shown off the most of so far, and so I feel like that's probably the next thing that's going to come out.
Yeah, and so like Ruined King is turn-based, but it has some interesting mechanics to kind of mix that up. And I mean, again, that art style is gorgeous, and I'm stoked to see what they come out with on this MMO. Yeah. I think they can do some really, really cool stuff there as long as they do it right, which is, I mean, that's always the thing, right? Like, as long as they can do it right, it's going to be great,
Absolutely. But for my next prediction, I had that Microsoft will release a streaming-only console. And
this year?
Yeah. I think if I'm Microsoft...
Announce or release this year?
Announce and release, because there's not much to it. It's not like there's a ton of development to it.
Right?
Right? I mean,
is it going to be like a little box, or you think it's going to be like a Fire Stick? Or
a little box for just cooling properties.
Yeah.
But this also goes into why I think Stadia is going to kick the bucket. I mean, they're like, so it's a perfect storm, right? You've got... You're a developer and a hardware manufacturer. You have been developing a cloud streaming game service for the last 5, 6, 7 years. You've been working on a subscription platform that's now, somewhat successful, but needs that next step, right? The barrier to entry to that next step is not being able to get the latest console. Right. Even though we both know you can go get a Series S and you could xCloud your games and it'll play the same as it would on a Series X.
Right. But not everybody knows that.
But not everybody knows that. If I'm Microsoft, I go, okay, cool. Here you go. Here's a little box. By the way, it plays, does everything that the Series X can do, but you can do it through xCloud. It
just needs internet.
And you play, it's just a complete subscription service for that box. So like the box costs Microsoft, fucking $20 to make. It costs $19.99 a month.
For 100.
Yep, costs $25 a month or something like that. You get it shipped to your fucking house directly from Microsoft. There's no middleman bullshit. There's no retailer. You can go pick it up retail if you want. Doesn't matter. You hook it up at home. You play Game Pass. You're fucking in. You're done.
I don't even think you buy it for $25 a month. I think you buy a flat rate of $100, and then you get Game Pass. And you pay $15 a month, and you're locked into that ecosystem. $100, $15 a month. I mean, there are a ton of people that would jump all over that.
Yes, but that's the thing, right? So it solves supply chain issue because much less complicated to build that, extremely less complicated to source everything that you need. It solves more people on Game Pass. It solves anybody holding out to get a Series X, and it builds subscriptions into an ecosystem. So you basically replace Stadia at that point with that, in my mind. So I think that's definitely going to happen. Like, I really think that they're going to announce it. It is going to launch, and I think what's going to happen is at the beginning you're going to have all these xCloud games, and then I think there'll be this period of time where the newest game perhaps doesn't hit xCloud immediately, but it's a little bit afterwards. And then going forward, any Microsoft game that they're going to make is going to be xCloud compatible. Right, it's going to be the third-party shit that's questionable, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But that's the thing. So I think that that's absolutely going to happen. I think they'd be stupid if they don't do that, because you have the perfect environment as a business and a consumer to launch this thing.
I'm almost surprised they haven't done it already.
Correct. I have no idea why they have not done that yet.
Right. But there's also people passing. There's also people passing on the Series S, but that's also because it's this weird, like, almost half step up type of thing. Like, it's not full Series X, but it is still better than the One X, but it's also like, it's this weird half step type of thing. Whereas, you know, and it's still $300. You put $100 little, like, streaming box out there, it's going to sell gangbusters.
But for, you know, it's $300. For $200 more or $100 more, I can get an Xbox Series X. But I can't get it. Because of supply chain issues. So I think the whole problem is communications. So if you just source this thing as like a separate entity where it's like love Xbox games, get Xbox whatever, Game Link, Game Box, Play. Who the fuck knows what they're going to call this stupid thing. Something dumb. Boom, there you go. And now I've got more people playing Xbox and the ability to get into my ecosystem. The Series S, to be honest with you, I feel like the only reason they have it right now is because of supply chain issues.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And it becomes anything Xbox becomes relevant with xCloud because you can play it on that system.
Right.
But I mean, I feel like
not even everything Xbox. I mean, like everything. Phones and computers. And so, I fully agree. I think that is a genius idea. And
comes with a controller,
I hope they
and a
do
little
it.
box and in a box for $99 and then $14.99 a month after that.
Yeah, for your normal Game Pass Ultimate that you normally would pay for, right? And I think that's reasonable because you look at the price of a controller, you're looking at like what, $60. I haven't bought a controller in forever, so I can't remember, but
it's like
$50, $60,
$70, yeah.
And so you're basically paying $50 to $40 for your actual box itself, and you're in the fucking ecosystem. That is the same price as what Stadia Founders Edition launched. Actually, I think even a little bit cheaper. I think it was $120.
Microsoft Azure far superior to Google Cloud.
This is also very true. Very true.
So
and I think it's a fucking genius, man. Yeah. I fully agree they should do it.
Microsoft, hire me.
The question is, we're always puzzled by game companies as to what seems like the logical thing to do, and then they don't do it. So
I mean,
but Xbox has been doing great lately.
That's a lot of SKUs of product that they have. It just adds more confusion. But I mean, they're already fucking there. It's so just confusing.
Call it the fucking the Xbox Stream Box, like something like that, to make it very clear it is solely for streaming if you mix xCloud into there, you're gonna have people all sorts of fucking confused. It needs to be very obvious this is solely for streaming, and then you're good. But they also have a terrible time naming anything and have everybody fucking confused unless you follow
Series C for cloud.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I would not even put it past them.
A C, an S, and an X. Jesus.
Yeah, they don't know how to name shit at all.
Anyways,
so. My next one is actually that Rocket League is going to get a next gen version. This has kind of been rumored for a little bit.
Does it not have one?
Not yet. Nope.
Seriously.
Yep. So I think we're going to get a next gen version of Rocket League. Because I don't see any reason to go to a Rocket League 2. Update what you have. Keep your player base intact, and continue on that way. But I think there's going to be the next gen version that has been kind of hinted at, and the devs have kind of briefly said something about, but not directly, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to get announced this year and launch holiday this year, or the 2022. I keep saying this year, but we're kind of still in that weird, awkward point where we're kind of in 2021. But by the time you listen to this, it may be 2022. So that's my next prediction.
Next gen version. I figured that would be like the first thing that Epic would do.
They were working on that mobile game.
Yeah, I know they wanted to get mobile because they wanted to fuck around with the whole Apple ecosystem bullshit with their Fortnite stuff also. But I mean, damn, dude, like obviously it's not as big as Fortnite, but it's still a huge community.
Yeah.
Like
it's
one of the
it's
first
quite large.
things I would have done.
The thing is, too, it's been fizzling out for sure. Like, I haven't played for month and a half, 2 months, and that's pretty common. Like a lot of even like the bigger YouTubers and like pros and stuff, they're stepping away from it. And so they have to do something to retain that player base, to retain that attention on the game.
Crazy to me because it's like, I know they've done like integration of different IP with it, you know, like Batmobile and Ghostbusters, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know what else you do with it. I mean, you could do different game modes, I guess, but I think really you're stuck to like, okay, cool, we're going to put this in the game now. But like that's only a small hit, right? Someone buys that and they're like, they play a couple games as a Ghostbusters car and you're like, okay.
Right.
And you leave.
That's the bad part about Rocket League. And I love it because it is that challenge to get better, but some people don't want that, right? They want content rather than playing the same game over and over and over and building that like ability to get better, because I mean the maps don't change anything other than the surroundings, like, and there are some special game modes that come for a limited time. There's some cool maps that you can get, you know, every great once in a while if you go in. It used to be Rocket Labs, and I can't remember how they have it now, but basically, like, all of that stuff is not really there, so it is pretty much playing the same game over and over, but just constantly trying to get better. And
I mean, it's an older game.
Again. Huh?
It's been out for a while.
Yeah, it's been out for a while. You almost have to get something in there to freshen it up and keep that retention, or at least draw people back in or something, right? Something needs to be done with it. But, and that's, again, that's coming from someone who has sunk a lot of time into Rocket League.
And money.
Love that game. And money. I put quite a bit of money into it, right?
A lot of money in that. Yeah, I mean, I think their acquisition, obviously, you always want to acquire something that's got a good product, but what's behind the good product is a good team, and I think they wanted to make more of the acquisition of the team to build out
absolutely
other games of that style, you know,
right,
that Epic is kind of, well, they just don't have. So
right, I agree.
Cool. Another prediction kind of goes with my Microsoft stuff earlier, but PlayStation goes heavy with PS Now in terms of marketing. It makes a massive push for it. They make a big studio acquisition in regard.
PlayStation does?
Yes, for PS Now. Either big studio acquisition or they build a new team somewhere.
Was the last one that they actually picked up, what is that, Blue Chip? Is that correct? Blue, yes. Yeah. And that was relatively recently, but I agree. I think there's going to be some really large...
Yes, either some large acquisition or they're going to create a new team. You know, like Sony, whatever. Sony, Topeka, Kansas. And then they make big tech upgrades. So I think that they're going to use AWS for their cloud tech. I think Luna at this point is a complete failure.
Yes.
I mean, nobody knows what the fuck it is. There's no marketing behind it. Twitch isn't doing so hot, which is the marketing arm for it. Amazon, if it doesn't take off, nuke it. And try
just like Google, right?
Yeah, and
same regard, except for they almost do it quicker.
Yeah, they do it a lot quicker. So I think Luna's a fail on that stuff, which is fine. I think PlayStation picks up some people from Luna on the cloud tech side of stuff, and I think they continue to use AWS for their cloud-based stuff, and I think they redo UI, they redo the store on PS5. I think they completely redo it, either rebrand or just completely relaunch as if it had like just come out, because they could do that. I mean, to the general public, like you remove us nerds from it, to the general public, you could just do some massive campaigns with PS Now, and people would be like, oh wow, what's this new thing? And then all of us would be like, screaming, tearing our hair out, being like, it's been around,
it's been out forever.
But you could do it. So I think they need to do this. They need to push that. And I think that that'd be a good move for them. And I think it'll help them out with the stuff against Xbox. And I think that much like Xbox, you're going to see, I don't think as early as Xbox, but I think by the time 2023 rolls around, I think you're going to get a similar box system from PlayStation where you can play most games through their PS Now service, through their box, and you buy the box for $100 or whatever, and that's that, and you pay the subscription fee. So
fair enough.
I mean, that's where games going, dude.
Yep.
It's crazy. This is the problem, right? On Twitter, everyone's like, well, this is where gaming is going. I'm like, yeah, but the person who's doing it is fucking doing a bad job at it. Like there's
This is
reality to that. Like you can sit there and be like, hey, when the fucking car came out, right? There was people were like, well, this is the future, 4 wheels, dude. And you sit inside of it. Yeah, well, some car manufacturers came out where they had a fucking propeller on the front of the car, okay?
Yeah.
And then you got, the Model T by Henry Ford sitting there, and he's like, hey, this looks like it would work pretty well. And then people were like, what? And I'm sure people back in the day would say, well, that thing with the propeller's going to fucking die. Well, this is the future. Humans will travel on 4 wheels. I get that. But that's fucking piss poor compared to this.
Yeah.
And people just can't realize it. So whatever. Anyways, that's what I think Sony does in terms of streaming.
Fair enough. I think so. The next one I think is going to be Final Fantasy VII Remaster Part 2. Finally gets shown off. It's been long enough.
Shown off, but doesn't launch. No launch date.
No,
guaranteed.
No. I don't think it will launch until next year. But I think we will finally at least see it and know it actually exists, rather than the fact that they just called Part 1 Part 1. Because right now that's all we have, right? They have not done anything in regards to Part 2, and it has been, 2 years? For a engine and game and character models that are already built, and they just have to kind of work on the world, and it's been we haven't heard a fucking peep.
No,
not even because not a fucking thing.
Still making a good amount of money. No need.
Yeah,
just wait.
So I think we will finally see something about Remaster 2. I mean, they showed off what Final Fantasy 16 super fucking briefly for like I think it was E3 and then at the Game Awards again, or was it just the Game Awards? I can't remember. But regardless, I imagine I don't think we'll see that until 2024, and I think we're going to actually see Final Fantasy VII Part 2 remake next year. I think we'll see it 2023, just to clarify.
Okay.
So I think we'll see it E3, maybe Game Awards time.
Gotcha. My prediction, Nintendo finally announces a new Mario Kart. But it doesn't launch until the end of 2022, almost early 2023. And the reason why I state this is because I think going forward, every single Nintendo console at the end of its life, or at least a year to 2 years before the end of its life, will receive a Mario Kart because it fucking sells bonkers. Again, as a deluxe mode
life
on the
life
next system. Yes. So I think we'll finally get one. And yeah, I don't know what I mean. You know me. I'd love to see Double Dash, but it's not going to happen.
I was going to blow you some shit about it because I feel like that's one of your predictions pretty consistently, but you actually have a good reasoning behind this, right? Like that's actually sound logic.
I was thinking about saying, I'm like, do I really want to use that? I'm like, because I try every E3. I'm like, come on. Mario Kart, nothing. But I'm like, we're not close to the end of it, I guess. And I would assume at this point, supply chain issues have really fucked things up in terms of like, if we thought we were going to go get if I'm Nintendo or I'm, at their stage of the game where I'm like, obviously they're developing a new console right now. They start developing the new one when the next one fucking launches. But, if you need to start figuring out how you're sourcing your materials and ramping production and operations and all this kind of,
the Switch is almost 5 years old.
Yeah, but I don't even think you're thinking about any of that right now because of supply chain stuff. So I think
everything. You
release something like this, and I think it's gonna push back. I think it'll be 8. I think the Switch will live for about 8 years.
Yeah,
before there's a.
I think initially it was supposed to be like 7-ish, and I don't think that was an official thing, but just kind of like. The general consensus is probably about 7 years for the Switch. Right. We're approaching 5, but with everything that's happened, I imagine it at least pushes it to 8. But yeah, 8 years, you're talking about, 2025? Like, that's not that far away in the grand scheme of things.
No.
So it makes sense to get a good push out of a Mario Kart.
2022.
To launch, hopefully, alongside Zelda. Hopefully. So to stay in that vein, I think we're gonna see Metroid Prime 4.
Like we're gonna see it, or we're gonna get an announced date, or release date with it.
I think we're just going to see it. I don't think it's ready to launch yet.
Fuck, man.
Because they pretty much restarted development, right? Like
Yeah, they did.
They pretty much scrapped everything, but I think they have been radio silent on it, other than the fact that, hey, we're still working on it. So I think we will get a proper trailer rather than just a fucking JPEG that they flash up on the screen. I think this time we will get a proper trailer for Metroid Prime 4 at E3 this year. I still think it's not going to be until like holiday season 2023, if not spring of 2024, but I think they're hopefully going to show something just to show that there is some life left in this game and that it's not entirely dead.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I also, like, they announced it too early, it fucked it up, and then had to restart development, so I can understand why they'd be a little gun shy as well.
I feel like we're not going to get anything about it because we have Metroid Dread, and I think what's going to happen is, like, any like Nintendo
that's
Direct,
true.
if there's going to be, like, E3 season, the Nintendo Direct's going to be, like, some expansion to Dread. I think that's just a big buy time.
I don't think they'll do an expansion for Dread. If they didn't expand Mario Odyssey, there's no way they're going to expand Dread. The attachment rate for a Switch to Mario Odyssey is so much higher than what Dread was.
I know.
So much more money to be made, right?
Yeah.
It's a completely
if you fucked up like that and you want to buy time, I think Dread was a huge buy time.
I feel like Dread. Yeah, I was gonna say Dread was a buy time in general.
Yeah, Dread's a buy a
good game, by the way.
But
we're not knocking on the quality of the game. Yeah. It's just a very general statement. When you go that long without releasing another 2D side-scrolling fucking Metroid game, shortly after you were like, "Hey, we're getting ready to release Metroid Prime 4." You probably fuck something up along the way.
Or maybe they make something like Dread like Prime or something like that. And it's like fucking extra levels, special version of the game. You could see it. An amiibo.
It's about due time for a fucking... well, I guess this could have been one of my predictions, so I'm not... Okay. It's your turn for a prediction.
Okay. My next prediction onto it is more NFT bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah,
but I think
this is going to be the year of the NFT for sure.
I don't think so. I think NFTs kind of dwindle out in 2022.
It's going to be the year of companies trying to push NFTs, but nobody actually buying into it.
Yes, I mean Ubisoft has been doing this like crazy, trying to push their shit, which is stupid. We explained last show how this just makes them make more money, and that's why they're fucking doing it. Because of the excuse me, royalties when you sell the NFT down the road to another game on their network. I think there's going to be more crypto NFT bullshit. My stance on NFTs summed up, if no one's heard it because of the last episode, I personally own NFTs. I've researched the fuck out of NFTs. I think the whole thing's bullshit.
Yeah,
and I've put money into NFTs, like a decent amount of money into NFTs, and I think it's bullshit. So, but this is the thing, right?
It's like the weirdest.
No, but that's
weirdest
the thing.
Contradictory statement.
Yeah,
I put money into it. How would I know how it works
unless I do it, right?
Right.
So, like,
no, I get
someone
it,
on Twitter
it sounds
like,
funny.
Oh, you're just a fucking hater on NFT. No, I'm not, bro. You're fucking. If you take your advice on investment advice from fucking Gary V on Facebook and on TikTok, you're a fucking idiot. Don't be doing that.
Yeah.
Don't be doing it. If the guy tells you, hey, you need to hustle more, that's not advice. Okay?
No.
That's like that fucking Thai guy that's like, I'm going to tell you a secret. Read. Oh, you're a fucking idiot if you didn't think about that. Congratulations.
Yeah,
I don't know what to tell you.
Fantastic.
It's unbelievable. But yeah, I think more companies are going to pull this bullshit and no one's going to fucking buy it, or a minimal amount of people are going to buy it, and NFTs are just going to die. I mean, people fail to forget this thing called Big Daddy Government, and Big Daddy Government does not want people going around buying that kind of shit for tens of thousands of dollars. Nor crypto.
God, no.
That all that shit's going to get shut down. If you're in it, hey, kudos. You can make. I'm not denying you don't stand a chance of making a lot of money. I understand that. Most of this shit is Ponzi scheme by celebrities saying like, hey, here's that NFT of my fucking nut hair, right? Here you go. you know, 1.5 ether, 1.5, 1.5 Ethereum, hey, and then the gas fees are like, fucking $450 to make the transaction to mint everything. And I just sit there and I'm just like,
to mint the digital image.
Digital nut hair.
Fuck me.
Mint my nut hair. And then there's a 10% royalty, on the nut hair. So when you sell it, automatically 10% of that shit's going to go to the dude's nut hair.
For the record, if Ryan Reynolds releases a NFT that is a nut hair of his, people will lose their fucking mind.
Yeah, people will buy it. But this is the problem, is that the amount of people that can afford something to go buy that stuff is so minimal that it's not sustainable. Like when you sit there and you're like, hey, you can buy this gun skin for $2. The gun skin's not going to go up to like $2,000. It might.
No.
It might.
Well,
but the amount of them that are going to have to
CSGO says it might.
Yes, it might. But the amount at that tier, it just becomes a scheme to me. And like, if you're in that kind of stuff, kudos to you. You can make money off of it. I've made money off of it. Not a considerable amount, but some money off of it.
Yeah.
But you can lose your ass on that shit.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, be careful. Just be careful.
Yeah.
I'm not saying be careful.
Don't gamble with money that you can't afford to lose.
And again, I've spent money on the NFTs, so I feel like I'm qualified to at least say I've spent it. I really don't understand it still. Same with crypto. I mean, good God.
I'm just along for the ride, man.
On a coin about a fucking dog, then one about a smaller dog, and now one about a fucking baby dog, okay? And yes, I know it's called Dogecoin. I'm just referring to the fact that it's about a fucking dog. Like,
Doge to the moon,
I've done this. Again, I sit there and go, cool, I've made money, but at the end of the day, none of this makes sense. But here I am. And that's the question that like everyone
Here we are.
What's the question everyone has to pose to themselves? They sit there and be like, this is great. I've made thousands of dollars doing that. However, none of this makes sense. So how can it continue?
Well aware it doesn't make sense, but I'm here for the fucking ride. Hopefully to the moon, right?
Exactly, hodl. God.
So I'll keep this one pretty short and sweet. Fire Emblem is going to get a remake game of one of their older games, kind of like the Shadows of Valencia game.
Do they make it like fucking 75% of the original game? Or do they do a full proper...
Well, Shadows of Valencia was very good, actually. Like, the way they redid that was gorgeous, and they did a great job on it. But that was on 3DS, and that was the last time we got a remake. So I would say we're due for another remake, and then I think we're probably... Fuck, I hate to say it, but I think it's 2024 before we see another Fire Emblem game.
I was going to say, you probably get more DLC before you get another game.
No, they said they were done with the DLC for it.
Okay.
Supposedly. And if they use the same engine, they may be able to pump one of those games out in 3-4 years, which I can't remember when Three Houses launched. I think it was 2 years ago.
Soon to be 3.
Soon to be 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 2019. So July 2019. So I would say we're 2024 before we see that for sure.
Before
maybe 2023, but I think we'll get a carryover game where it is going to be that like a remake of an older game, and I think that will come out next year.
Of a bunch of the old ones all together.
I think it would. So they did or not a collection, but they did a re-release of one of the originals, and I don't think it sold very well. It was. I mean,
the game
like
has
one of the super
advanced incredibly.
Oh yeah, it is a far cry from what it used to be. Right?
It didn't really have like a slow ascend. It kind of like got to a point, and then it completely went, okay, cool, we're gonna go a totally different direction with this.
Right.
Which is great because obviously it's
similar gameplay,
popular.
but yeah, it's definitely escalated from what it used to be. I mean, Three Houses was a fucking awesome game. Like, I think it was my game of the year that year, if I remember correctly. But I think we'll get a Switch remake because we don't really have a proper Switch remake. We had a re-release of, God, I want to say it was Shadow Dragon, but I don't think that's right, so don't quote me on that. But we had a re-release of an older Fire Emblem game, and I know that's not right. It wasn't Shadow Dragon. I can look at my Switch. I have it on there. But anyway, I think it will be a re-release, or not a re-release, but a remaster of an older game. And I think we'll get a new game announced in 2023, releasing in 2024. So that's a little bit further out than what we're currently predicting, but that's my guess.
Cool. One of my predictions is a PS5 Pro controller.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, I mean, they're selling hunks of fucking plastic to slap on the side of this thing. They're down for anything at this point, dude.
And they did experiment with that back button last generation.
Nobody...
No, because it's kind of a weird peripheral, but
it is dumb.
I love the idea of having a proper Pro controller for the PS4 or PS5. Sorry.
Yes,
because
I think the
I
peripheral was a
loved
cool
my
idea,
Xbox, yeah.
but it makes the Pro cheap. It makes it having like a cheap Pro controller, which sounds really stupid, but yeah.
This is actually like, so I had a Pro controller. It started to go out, and I didn't want to cough up the money for another one because I pretty much only use the paddles for Rocket League. So I got the Power A Pro controller essentially that has like paddles on it, and it works great. It's not bad. It's not my favorite controller by any means.
Is shit really clicky on it?
No, not really. It's decent quality.
What, they got chrome inserts?
Yeah. But the problem I have is, so like the paddles are super, super thin.
Are they metal?
And so they're metal. Oh, well, they're plastic, I think. Man, they feel kind of metal. They're metal.
Bite it.
Probably not a great metal, but they're metal. But regardless, I actually really like this thing for Rocket League at least, but it is not the greatest controller in the world. But a Pro PS4 or PS5 controller would be incredible because I love the back paddles for certain games, and I can't play Rocket League without them because that's how I've played probably 1,000 hours of Rocket League was with a paddle, and that's how I learned. And now switching is going to be an absolute nightmare.
And I think you'll be able to do shit like you'll be able to turn the adaptive controller like things on or off with a switch on it. I think you'll be able to change, just like on the Xbox Pro controllers, the Elite controller. You can flip those tabs up so that the amount of travel on your trigger buttons can be decreased or increased.
Oh, it was Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon.
Oh shit! Look at you! Woo! But yeah, I think they're gonna come up with one. I mean, why would you not?
Yeah.
At this point,
I think it's great.
Explored more accessories and peripherals. And different things. So
PlayStation is branching out, and I like to see it.
Yeah, they don't have a problem getting controllers. So I could see them doing it, and it'd be like 100 and whatever. But how much is an Elite controller? Is it 130?
No, it's like 150 for the first series. It might be 130 now for the first series, but
it's 150
when I got mine, I think it was 150 for the Series 1, but they hadn't released Series 2 yet. The Series 2, I think, is like 180. I want to say.
Shit. Really?
Yeah, it's pricey.
Huh. Well, maybe they make something like that. 180, 150, 150, 180, something like that. But I definitely think they're going to explore that. Why wouldn't you? Right?
Oh, the Series 2 is at the Microsoft store is down to 140 currently. I don't know if that's just a sale or not, but it looks like, yeah. And then Razer has also ventured into that realm as well. Yes. And then you got Scuf that typically will make some as well.
Scuf is like the one that, I mean, if you're PlayStation,
that's where you got it.
That's where you get it.
Yeah.
That's like the place to be. Interesting.
Absolutely. So let's see, my next one, which one do I want to go with? I think I'm starting to get kind of not so much to the bottom of the barrel, but I'm kind of starting to get to the possible but doubtful wishes.
My next two are possible but doubtful.
Okay. So I'll stick to one normal prediction for this one. I think we are going to get a Xenoblade Chronicle game, or a Xenoblade Chronicle like X or Cross, depending on how you want to say it, remaster. Because that's the only one that. So we have Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Xenoblade Chronicles just got the definitive edition for the Switch, and I think they will eventually go and do Cross or X. However you want to say it. I'm just going to say X going forward.
Don't worry about it. No judgment.
Yeah, somebody's gonna fucking be pissed about it, but it's fine.
Whatever, who cares?
Right. Considering it's Japanese company, I assume it would be Cross, but regardless. I think we're gonna get a remaster of that, and I think they're gonna show it off this year. I think we are more likely to get a new game this year, actually, before we get that remaster, because I think they'll go new game and then remaster again, just like they did Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and then the Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. That's my guess. It's
a fair guess.
A super niche game, but I think Definitive Edition has gotten enough love and also sold decently enough to justify putting out another one. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 got more hype later after it launched, because initially a lot of people didn't like it, and then they returned to it and liked it after the fact. So I think it's very possible. It is one of those kind of weird niche games, but I think there is enough fans of it to justify putting out more.
Sure, agreed. Hey, here's one that's far-fetched, super doubtful. Themes finally come to the PlayStation 5.
Yeah. A guy can drink. What about the Switch? We are almost 5 years into this.
There's no way it's coming to the Switch. But themes come to the PS5, and I think that the way that they come is, I don't think people are going to be able to make them like third party. I think it's just going to be first party shit where Spider-Man launches and they're like, here you go. And basically when you boot your PlayStation up, there's like a different boot video, or maybe like you see some web come in and like move the PlayStation logo in screen or whatever. And then you're basically just going to have like different border colors on the back of some stuff and just a super opaque background.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like it's definitely not going to be like the PS4, because I was at my brother's house. He had the PS4 going, and he got in there and he had like the Little Big Planet theme going, and I looked at it and I'm like, this is tacky as fuck.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that's ever going to fly again.
I had a Persona 1 for the PS4, Persona 5. It was so cool. Like I absolutely adored that thing, and I wish I could have carried it over into the PS5. And I really enjoyed the theme. Some of them were awful, but some of them were fantastic. And like the Persona 5 one was probably a little tacky, but it fits in that realm of the game where it is this over the top, like in your face type of art style. But I miss themes, man. I love that ability to kind of personalize, and like Xbox does a pretty decent job with it. Like for their 20th anniversary, they launched a couple of them. They also had some Halo Infinite ones that were like very simple.
You can even just choose accent colors on the Xbox.
Yeah,
I mean that's even just a step ahead of PlayStation, right? I mean, like right now,
right? Just something simple to make it feel like it is yours, rather than your typical like, hey, this is a generic game console. You can't do anything to it. And that's kind of how I feel about the Switch, right? Like at the end of the day, the Switch is,
oh my god,
it is what it is.
It's like a jitterbug.
You can choose dark or light theme, and that is it. I mean, they even have a themes category, and all you can choose is dark and light, and that's like so much room for expansion there, and they just won't do it.
No,
I don't get it. I'm not
even asking for third-party stuff. I mean, if Nintendo just wants to make their own themes,
Mario, Zelda,
for $1, $2, yeah, I'll buy it.
Yeah,
I'll buy it.
Absolutely,
no problem.
If I can get a Fire Emblem theme or a Zelda theme, I'm in. I will buy a couple of them and rotate them out.
Yes.
Like I did it on the 3DS or my 2DS, and I only had that thing for a little while before it was basically sunset, right? Like, and that's it. Like they're not supporting it anymore, but it's one of those odd things that some of these companies aren't capitalizing on a pretty simple way to bring in some extra revenue, right?
Hey, dude, cardboard
it is. So my last simple prediction that I think is definitely going to happen is Assassin's Creed Infinite. That broad spanning, like with multiple NFTs. Timeline. Yeah, probably NFTs. I think that will be shown off this year. It won't launch this year. I think it'll launch holiday season 2023, but I think we'll finally get a look at it because it's been over a year since Valhalla launched, and they've been doing a cycle of every 2 years for these recently. So they've got a big expansion coming out here soon for Valhalla. It would make sense to. I think that is supposed to be the last major expansion. Maybe not. I could be wrong on that. I've kind of been out of that realm for a little bit. But I think E3 or Game Awards, we will see at least a peek at Assassin's Creed Infinite or whatever that is supposed to be. Because again, that is all still kind of rumor at this point.
Yeah.
There hasn't been like an official announcement really of this. But I think we will at least get an announcement trailer, and it'll probably be something small and cinematic, and I think that will happen sometime this year.
One kind of wild prediction, but not out there, and then I've got one more after that. No one attends E3.
Oh, really?
Like Microsoft stops going to E3. Sony obviously doesn't do it. Nintendo didn't do it. I think it just becomes PC Gamer, Ubisoft, EA, Square Enix, and like,
well, Xbox is already in that kind of weird spot where it's not technically. I mean, it is part of E3, but it's also across the road.
Well, it's in there.
They just capitalize on that time, right? Yeah, they capitalize on that time period just because so many people are watching during E3 already.
Yeah, I don't think they do it.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think there's more benefit in doing your own fucking thing at your own time on your own stream. There's more control to it. It doesn't
get drowned out, right?
It doesn't get drowned out. You can split it up.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, hey, I just want to give somebody, half hour now, and then in 3 months I can hold on to the rest of this shit and give it 3 months from then. Fantastic. Like, I don't see the benefit or the use in it. Like, there was no use in them doing the same E3 time, because I get it. Yeah, it's, we can sit there and act like they got all the limelight. Well, no, everyone else also has their shit still, like Ubisoft and everything. So I think it's just going to come down like to just a dev thing, which is fine. That's great. Like, I'll still watch that. I'll still watch Ubisoft and EA
absolutely.
and Activision. Well, no, Activision Blizzard does their own thing. But yeah, I don't think that they're gonna do it. I think that they'll choose their own time, and date, and they'll do it then.
I think so. We've been predicting that E3 was gonna die for pretty much since we started this podcast.
Which it's been very close.
It has been very close on multiple occasions. Like, it barely made it.
Like, I attended E3 2018.
I saw the shirt today. That's the only reason I.
Oh, really? Yeah, I attended E3 2018 as a dev, and yeah, I mean, like, it was okay, but I mean, it wasn't like,
I think it will last one more year. And I think it will die out in 2023.
Like, as a whole E3 dead?
I think Nintendo's going to pull out, Xbox will stay, and then E3 will die the next year.
I see. My thing, I would agree. The only problem I would have with that is just because of the actual entity that owns E3 is so integrated into the actual, like, dev side of stuff, and also from like a legislation standpoint as well, that I feel like if they do that, it dies, but it still exists, and it's just an online thing.
Okay.
And it becomes this pseudo GDC with some announcements from developers for a period of time, and then yes, it completely keels. But I feel like it goes digital. I also think just post-pandemic, I think that the people that operate that organization that runs E3, I feel like they don't want a physical thing. Yeah, which sounds fucked, because I mean that's what it's been a
staple for so long.
Yes,
right?
But I think like they honestly don't want it, because I think that they kind of are just overwhelmed with COVID stuff and just, how stuff has been. And I think, it served its purpose when it was, when you got your gaming news from a fucking magazine, right? I mean, how else do you project to that many people when the internet was not so big or the internet was extremely clumsy, right? You have to get everyone in one area. I mean, fuck, GDC doesn't have to be a thing physically. All it is giant Zoom calls in person.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's literally all it is. There's workshops, there's some certification courses. You can do it all fucking online. Like, there's no point.
The only reason I think it'll last one more year is I think it'll go out in the same way as like Warped Tour did, where it's like one last hurrah type thing, and then I think it'll die. So until they actually announce like, hey, this is going to be the last in-person E3, I think I think it'll still be around, and I think they'll want to go out on one big thing. But I mean, we watched all of E3 this year. Granted, we drank a lot during it because it was not entertaining. Like, most of E3 kind of fucking sucked.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, the PC gaming show was terrible. Like, most of the shows were not good and they didn't have anything of value. Granted, this was a fucked up year, but I also think that was enough to start putting nails in the coffin even more than what we already thought before, which we already thought it was going to start going out. But when you have companies like GameStop that are starting to go away because that physical store is no longer needed, I think it's going to be a very similar like thing for E3 where that physical like big conference type deal is not necessarily needed anymore. Nintendo has been very successful with their Nintendo Directs. PlayStation has been doing their state of plays that aren't really all that entertaining most of the time. They're pretty boring, but they still work. And I think like you said, the internet is in a very different place than when E3 originally started, obviously.
Video games are too, right? I mean, video games were a physical product.
Yes.
They're in every way a digital first product.
Right. Yeah, even a physical copy of a game, you still have to download this thing, right?
Right. The thing, like, you imagine going back to E3, right? Like 2002. Okay, 2000 when the GameCube's announced, right?
Yeah.
And you go with today's video game. Wouldn't work.
Right. No, absolutely
hold on a second. We've got to download it. Hold on a second. It's got a patch. Physical. Do you have the physical? No. We preloaded on this GameCube ahead of time. I mean, it's not the same product anymore. It doesn't.
No.
I can't physically pick up the console. I can physically pick up pick up the console. Like, I'm not picking up the cartridge. Doesn't fucking mean anything because it's all in the same medium. It's on a fucking CD for all of them, right? Or Blu-ray. Some fucking crazy form of Blu-ray, right? Great, fantastic. It's a CD at the end of the day. They all look the same when you take them out, except for the Switch, okay, which is a memory card.
Still a cartridge.
It's like an SD card at this point. So it's not it's a totally different product now. So I just don't see the value in it. I think there's more value in. Not even just from the press's side. I mean, from us, I would rather get information directly right off the internet immediately and be the first one to know than to have to sit there and fucking write about it.
Right.
That seems dumb.
I agree. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, I'm watching it already, right, as a person. I don't need IGN to then write an article about what I just fucking watched on stream.
No. So, granted, I mean, we do a follow-up after.
No, we do a follow-up, yes.
It's a different thing, right?
We don't write a fucking article about it because I don't
Well, and even then, most of these news outlets aren't even including everything. They're including a few big tidbits, and this is coming from someone who has had to rewatch a lot of showcases to write the fucking show notes for it. So I'm fully aware when they forget things, because I have painstakingly walked back through them and watched them over, paused it, wrote it down, unpaused it, watched another 10 seconds, pause it again. Like, it fucking sucks, but... Yes.
And then the only thing they write about is Keanu.
Yeah, and then Keanu, yeah. So, okay, here's my before I get to the possible but doubtful wishes.
Yeah.
So
let's quickly.
my not likely, but we're well overdue for, and of course they both come from Activision Blizzard, and so that's where it's this weird
I've got one that'll fit in with yours after. That's my last one.
We haven't seen Overwatch 2 or Diablo 4 for what, 3 years now? I think Diablo 4 was 4 years ago. It's 3 years.
We did see some considerable things on Overwatch 2 when finals happened.
Okay.
So they showed off.
I didn't follow that.
They showed off. Well, not many did. So they showed off gameplay of a mode where basically, I forget what mode they call it, but basically you're pushing. You have two robots, right? Mm-hmm. And basically the map is almost like a giant U or a circle.
Okay.
And each opposing team has a robot. Basically, you're killing the team so that, or trying to block this robot from pushing this stone or the payload, essentially.
So it's kind of like Arma. Or not. Yeah, Arma.
Yeah,
right?
in some cases. But you're trying to stop it from pushing it and continue to push it to the end post, the end goal post area where you're going to need a point on that map. So they showed that. They showed a whole match on that. Okay. They showed a couple new characters. They discussed how, Bastion was broken, so they're going to fucking break him even more. And they discussed, some other different character changes like Lucio, and other shit like that. So they did show off some stuff. However, I believe right after they showed that, a lot of this Activision Blizzard shit started coming out, and I don't believe either they ever posted a lot about it or it just never got the limelight. But they did actively show a new game mode. Like I said, but after that, I haven't heard anything.
I entirely missed it. Diablo 4 might as well be a fucking unicorn at this point because we
got the mobile game.
Well, yeah, that's still not even out yet.
Yeah, but we know that's coming before Diablo 4.
So
we've got to wait for that.
Activision Blizzard is obviously all sorts of crazy shit right now.
Yeah,
and then nuts. On top of that, they announced these titles forever ago and haven't even really.
Ravensoft had a walkout.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Those are the Warzone.
Yeah.
Team. Just walked out.
Yep.
It's like, fuck this.
So that is a couple games that if they were going to announce anything, I think it would have been this year. But with everything going on, Activision Blizzard needs to keep their fucking mouth shut and not say shit. They can't announce because nobody
until they figure out their shit.
Right. They have to figure their shit out before they announce anything. And I know it's not going to be that way because I even predicted earlier the low-hanging fruit of Call of Duty is going to get another game because they just launched Vanguard amidst everything. So,
but it's not doing as hot as any other. It's still doing very well as a video game.
Of course,
but it's not.
Call of Duty
not
always
in the scheme of COD. It is doing very poorly.
Right. It is a poor. It's doing poorly for a Call of Duty, but for a video game, it's still doing gangbusters. Yes. It's crazy. But those are my probably not going to happen. But if I was a betting man, if everything else at Activision Blizzard wasn't going on right now, I think they would talk about them this year. But like I said, it's in a weird spot right now that I have no clue what they're going to do because they're also fucking idiots and keep putting out stupid shit that makes everything 10 times worse. By the way, they did actually finally change McCree's name.
I know they did. I've played him.
My kids pointed it out to me the other day. They're like, hey, they changed one of the characters' names. I go, I assume it was McCree, huh? And they're like, yeah.
I forget what his name is now. Is it Coulson or something like that? Or
oh
my god.
It was
I still call him McCree.
Yeah.
McCree,
I can't remember what they changed.
Cole Cassidy.
Yeah, Cassidy. He goes by Cassidy in the game.
Yeah, well, he's McCree still.
Right.
Hey, it's that raping guy.
Fucking shit. Yes, that guy.
Hey, it's that name McCree, which nobody knew what the fuck it meant until somebody from Blizzard decided we need to rename McCree because of a member of the team. Nobody knew. Nobody knew that.
No, it sounded like a good cowboy name.
Never needed to happen.
Yeah.
Never needed to know about it. There was no justice in telling us that that was a thing.
Right.
And now we have Cole Cassidy, which people still call McCree because Cole Cassidy does not roll with it. Sounds like a woman.
It's also been McCree for almost 6 years now. That's kind of a hard thing to break after the fact. That's why you don't name your characters after real people that work for the company.
Up? Is there anybody in Activision named Cassidy?
Surely somebody named Cassidy is fucked up at some point in time.
I mean,
but this is why you don't name your characters after somebody within your company.
Also, it's one thing to come forward about a sexual assault claim. That's terrible. That's an awful thing. That should be discussed and that should happen. It's another thing to come out and be like, by the way, we named the character after that guy. After that happened and nobody knew.
Right.
You've just made a problem for yourself.
Right.
My God. I've got an Activision one.
Okay.
And as much as I want to sit here and say I think that this has a slim chance of happening, the leadership of that company is so fucking stupid. It might happen. I think they rebrand.
Ooh.
I think they get rid of Activision, and I think they rebrand, and Blizzard stays Blizzard because that's not gonna that's not as affected. Okay, I think Activision sits at the top of all that, but I think that they rebrand. I think that they make some stupid rebrand, and I think that they rebrand not only as a video game company but also towards the metaverse. I believe that they do a double down on this, and they rebrand just to hope to God that it gets rid of stuff, which it won't, and two, to be absolute fucking shills on the stock market. And I believe Ubisoft also does the same thing. Endor comes out. Dude, look at the writing on the wall.
I know their shit's all sorts of fucked up right now, too.
So Ubisoft's getting away with all that shit because of Activision right now.
They also have some sexual assault claims going on right now, too.
Yes.
If I remember correctly.
Yes. Yeah, they do. And it's kind of flying under the radar because of
Activision.
And all the NFT shit is flying under the radar a little bit. Not as much. It seems to have sparked more things. But if you look at Ubisoft as a company, the fact that they did the Rocksmith and it's a service online, this company is not just interested in doing video games.
Right.
This company is fully down to just any interactive software. Ubisoft will try to play this metaverse bullshit, which the metaverse is complete horseshit. But
yes.
I think they'll both try to aim that and play that. I mean, that's why Facebook rebranded. They rebranded because they started getting a bunch of flack. They renamed themselves to Meta. They wanted the name so that they could get ahead of Metaverse. And so now they own Meta.
Which is fucking
stupid. But Activision could probably do that.
Also, a very dumb name choice, by the way. Meta is fucking stupid.
Right, it is.
It's a bad name.
Well, I mean, the problem is, right, it's all guise of bullshit. Like, when you get an Oculus Quest 2, you have to create a Facebook account.
Yeah. I think didn't they do away with that finally? Or there were talks of it, I think.
My buddy just bought one for his kid. His kid had to have a Facebook account. And so he was like, okay, so maybe it's like a Facebook Oculus account where it's like, it's limited.
Something separate. No.
Full-blown Facebook account.
That's dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand why they did it, but it's dumb.
Yeah.
A social media platform for a video game. Fucking stupid.
But anyways,
are you ready to
rebrand?
So I am now down to my possible but doubtful wishes.
Yeah, just rapid fire this off because I'm done. Mine.
You're done with yours?
I'm done.
Okay, so I have new BioShock game. There have been rumors of it anyway. Doubtful. Exactly. That's why I made this category. I would love a new BioShock game, but I don't think it's going to happen. And yeah. Persona. New Persona game. The only reason I think it's doubtful
How old is the other one?
It's pretty old. I think it was 2015 or 2016.
Yeah, I can see it. New concept.
The only reason I say it's doubtful is because we just got the new Shin Megami Tensei, and I think they are different teams.
Yeah, but they pushed Strikers too.
Yeah, Strikers is PlayStation Plus game this month, which that was a game I actually did hold off and wait for, and then look at me, I got to win, boys. I got to win. It came out, so Persona 5 came out September 15th, 2016. But Royal just came out last year, sorry. And then Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah, but Royal's like, that's the swan song for that one.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's just repurposing.
I would love a new Persona game because I'm having a hard time getting into Shin Megami Tensei. I really am. Something about Persona is just a lot more enjoyable for me. But my next one is Titanfall.
No,
I think Respawn. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. But I would love to see Respawn, return to Titanfall. But it's not gonna fucking happen. Again, why it's in this list right here? Because they're too busy with Apex still. Yeah. Even though that team I haven't heard much about in a while. And then my last possible but doubtful wish is a new 3D Mario game.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, I think that's more plausible than any of the other ones. Like I think
Persona's probably the most plausible.
Yes, but I think you put.
And then I think Mario's second.
I think you put like Mario Odyssey 2 up there with Mario Kart. If not an announce, and then it's the next following, like 2023. But I feel Mario like that Odyssey is also a game that they would just take over and port.
So Mario Odyssey came out October 27th, 2017. Jeez. So we are we're 4 years out, 4 and a few odd months, right?
So I bet you E3, they announce it, and then I bet you what happens is this. They come up with that, they come up with the Mario Kart, they come out with Zelda, and then they follow the same shit that they did with the Switch when they make whatever, Switch 2, Switch Pro, Switch,
port all of it as deluxe editions.
Yes. And then they port them. So you get Mario Odyssey 1 and 2 when it goes over. You get Breath of the Wild Part 1 and 2 when it goes over. And you get Mario Kart whatever Deluxe. Mario Kart 9 Deluxe.
Well, and the big thing right now is with the Switch, we've burnt through a lot of their major IPs already. And so once Zelda comes out, there are no major IPs on the Sunrise there, right? Like it is. Well, that's supposed to come out next year too, I believe. If I remember correctly.
Which we both are perplexed by Splatoon because I just don't.
Yeah. It has a 2022 release date. So it would make sense. You're releasing the second Zelda game next holiday season, hopefully. And unless shit gets delayed, it would make sense to.
There's a little.
Just throwing that in there. And it would make sense to have a Mario game to follow it up the year after to keep your sales strong for your console as it starts to fade out of existence slowly. Mm-hmm. So I think it's possible we do get an announcement for it this year, but I don't think it's coming this year.
Okay, I agree.
Holiday season 2023.
Here's an outlandish one just before we wrap all this up. Switch Pro never gets announced. Not a thing.
That's not even outlandish. That's just not a reality.
Thing. Not a thing.
It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
No.
Not a thing.
Absolutely not.
Not a thing at all.
It's
cool. Is that it? Like, is that all your predictions?
That is my entire list.
Shit, we had a lot of them. So I guess I'm just going to keep this note, and I'll just see how many of these don't come true. So we'll see. Yeah, by the way, on the Stadia stuff, I don't wish for it to die, so that's another key factor. So please, nobody fucking write some bullshit. Also, some devs at Google are fucking douchebags. Don't DM me, bro, with your fucking. Yeah. I'm a dev at Google. Okay, great, cool. You wrote 5 lines of fucking code this week. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Get out. Just get out of my fucking DM, bro. Okay. Anyways, guys, if you like the show, please hit subscribe, whether it's on YouTube or if you're listening for the first time with the audio version of the podcast and you found us, hey, hit that subscribe. You made it to the end. Thank you so much. Tell your friends also about the show. We're available on every single podcast platform known to man and woman. And on top of that, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Diggity Podcast. And we'll see you this time next week. It'll be great. And hopefully some news comes out. My God.
See you next year.
Oh, yeah. See you next year. Got it.